How does alcoholism start? The other word for alcoholism could be alcohol abuse or dependency or alcohol addiction, but in the end, it's all pretty much the same thing. It can start for a lot of people who I've learned who are people who have identified as alcoholics, stated that alcohol changed their life. They felt like they were coming home, that they were coming into their own, and they felt comfortable when they were drinking. It was a social lubricant, that the anxiety of being in social situations was eliminated by alcohol use. They felt like they belonged, and is a very strong, powerful sense for them. Within time, they start using this now as a crutch more often. So when they're going through stressful conditions in life to cope with stresses, they would tend to rely on their drinks. And there's nothing wrong with having a drink after a stressful day, but if this ends up piling on day after day, or at the weekend after weekend after weekend, these are signs of possible problem going on. So there tends to be a reward involved here. There could be a self-medication form here as well. So those are the early stages of alcoholism. Then, as a person's using, they tend to go through hangovers. And yes, from a binge, people can have a hangover. That doesn't mean there's dependency going on here. However, if they're missing school or work a fair bit, if because they're going through withdrawal because they're hungover, and this is happening more and more frequently, then that's a clear sign that alcohol abuse could be taking place. In the later stages, there could be loss of friendships with others, loss of interest in activities that normally they enjoyed, things like hobbies, recreation, sports activities. There could be reduced work performance over time. There could be weight loss. And there's other signs of end-stage alcoholism now, where a person can lose weight, they can have flushing in the face, they can have multiple skin changes that show signs of alcoholism. There could be an enlarged liver. On ultrasound, a fatty liver is picked up. They could have a protuberant belly with fluid filling it, which is called ascites. These are signs of end-stage alcoholism, and finally it can affect the brain. They can slow down. Their speech could be, they don't articulate as well. They can have trouble finding their words in the worst cases, where it's actually called hepatic encephalopathy, and that majorly affects their brain. This in the olden days they would call this wet brain, but the proper name is encephalopathy, and this basically the alcohol has exerted a toxic effect on the brain over several years of use or abuse. One other thing to state is that it does not matter what form of alcohol. Some people feel, oh, it's just beer, it's not as strong as spirits like whiskey. It doesn't matter in the end. Alcohol is alcohol, period. And the frequency of use doesn't matter either. They might state that, well, I only take it once on weekends, but getting drunk on the weekends and it causes a hangover the next day, for example, they go to excess. That usually is the sign. So in medicine, what we've learned is when someone admits to taking 3 drinks, for example, once a week, the chances are to double that. That's probably, people tend to lie and cover it up. I'm not here to judge them, but realistically speaking, if they're admitting to 3 drinks, they're probably taking 6. So to summarize that, how alcoholism starts and finishes, it starts with a social lubricant or a crutch, a way of handling stress. There tends to be escalating use of it and dependency on it to handle stressful situations. There could be excessive binging, excessive hangovers, excessive absenteeism, changes in their behavior. There could be work-related complications, poor performance, sleeping in. And over the late stages, there's signs that the body has that indicates that there's long-term complications of the drug use. This can include things like encephalopathy and liver failure. So that stems the answer from beginning to end.
We've helped over 1 million Americans completely recover from substance abuse. Call now at 1-800-615-1067. Call now.